The Electrical and Electronics Engineers, or IEEE standards for Wi-Fi, aka 802.11, are the set of protocols used for wireless local area network communication, used to allow devices like phones, laptops, and printers, among others, to communicate with each other without wires. First released in 1997 with revisions still up to today, these are the standards it has had until now. Here's a quick question. What does Wi-Fi stand for? The answer is at the end of the video. Also, subscribe if you learned something. 802.11 1997. The original, now obsolete version, released in 1997 and clarified in 1999, had a maximum transfer rate of 2 megabits per second, mostly used on the 2.4 gigahertz band, but earlier technologies used lower frequencies. They had forward error correction as well to correct any errors during transmission. 802.11a, published in 1999 and used the same format as the original with an added multiplexing interface used to encode data. It uses the 5 GHz band with a maximum data rate of 54 megabits per second with error correction, with realistic throughput being around the mid-20s. It was switched to the 5 GHz band because the 2.4 GHz band was getting crowded. The higher frequency doesn't have as much range and doesn't permeate objects well either. Still a problem with 5 GHz even today. 802.11b, released around 2000 with a theoretical maximum of 11 megabits per second, still uses the same media access method as the original standard. This was the standard that first went mainstream because of the increase of speed versus the original. Used the 2.4 GHz band, but dealt with more interference due to the higher amount of objects around using the 2.4 GHz band. These things included baby monitors, cordless telephones, Bluetooth, and even microwave ovens. 802.11g. Skipping some letters, we end up at 2003 with the release of 802.11g. Also uses the 2.4 GHz band with the same multiplexing as 802.11a, a theoretical maximum speed of 54 megabits per second, and fully backwards compatible with 802.11b devices. Rapidly adopted after release due to reduced manufacturing costs and desire for faster speeds. Also gets interference due to the 2.4 GHz band. 802.11n. Released in 2009, this is a standard we still mainly use for the 2.4 GHz band, but also compatible with the 5 GHz band. It was first drafted in 2006 and retroactively labeled as Wi-Fi 4, due to the multiple bands as multiple theoretical maximums of 54 megabits per second in 2.4 GHz mode and 600 megabits per second in 5 GHz mode. This standard also added support for multiple input, multiple output antennas, or MIMO, which allow for multiplying the capacity of a radio link using multiple antennas. 802.11ac, released in 2013 and building on 802.11n, retroactively known as Wi-Fi 5, it included wider channels for the 5 GHz band and multi-user MIMO. In 2016, it was revived with the WAY2 certification to provide higher bandwidth and capacity. 802.11ad. First available mainly with a TP-Link router in January of 2016, this is a new physical layer for 802.11 networks, so they operate in the 60 GHz band. Now known under the name WiGig, it has a maximum transmission rate of 7 gigabits per second, with even worse range than the 5 GHz band. It isn't too well known, but was first announced in 2009 and added to IEEE 802.11 in 2012. There are plenty more standards with even more coming. Even recently, 802.11ac's successor 802.11ax was approved earlier this year. All of your wireless devices use at least one and are most likely compatible with multiple. So here's the answer to the question. What does Wi-Fi stand for? It stands for Wireless Fidelity, which is a generic term for the communication standard for wireless networks. If you learned something, leave a like and subscribe.